Right, this is Sky Power Radio and TV services. Welcome all on board our weekly civic education program. Today, Saturday, 22nd of March 2025, from studios in West Yorkshire, Leeds, Stencil, Mount Abdussaid, Mustafa Jame is my name. Right, assalamu alaikum, bading uluk ngal kontong mobe dauda anibe wato watito. Yeah, kontong doro ko lansnal bismillah na programo ming kasoro jang lokungo lokon ninyan temben sida civic education program. Sunkaro yatin na manke ko sunkaro le no bari sunkaro ning mola taradulal min bebe jang ma watol mankling wala nangake 3 PMT modole nyininga go last week mala programo jang ko saying wala nang announcement ke saya kana talan sabale fo janni sunkaro banna because of sunte Kenya kamala wala yatinna. Yo bebol tentulam be jelam be bismillah ko tanki alingal badi malo Mustafa Jame membe siri program ko na internet. Bokki degul kati ñu la dene yo fi ci Sky Power Radio and TV services by ko ci radio bi fi ci studios West Yorkshire Leeds Central Mount suñ bunti program civic education program and accent harik Mustafa Jame nekkal len fi ci radio bi. Okay, like we usually do today, our guest today on this program is no stranger, Mr. Mustafa K. Dabo. Mustafa Swandi K. Dabo is a Dabo Kundaman and a Badi Bunka. And then we say greetings to you, Mustafa, in the first place. You can say warm welcome to you once again on Skype or Radio and TV services. You can introduce yourself. Mustafa, welcome. Say hello to viewers and listeners at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be with you and also reconnect with Mr. Geng and Day. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Day, betung say boleh ni mulai yung kontong greetings like.
Yeah, me Mustafa konton na koteke, bafla abarka koteke ka na mola programo to. It's always good to have you and. The time momento is a very critical time in the history of our country, and we need people like you. We need to be able to support you. We need to be able to be with you. We need to be able to hear your voice as well all the time in this critical moment where there is a need for transparency. There is a need to address issues of corruption, dishonesty, integrity, lack of integrity, and it's a whole mess up. And this is the time where your voice is important. Your voice is crucial, and very honored to be with you again on this platform. And I'm also thank you for Suleiman, na co-panelist watching Bijang and trying to just figure out things, even though it's easy. And Mustafa, if a number follow again, Drong Abarka Blamol, it's not easy coordinating. It's not easy Kamol Nati in different countries, different time zone. Hajol be sharing, call be sharing, so but still you just keep the fort on Abarka Bake. Melman Tarajang Aziz, hopefully Mbajela Janin Sungarobe Bana, Bamba Mas Fanang, hopefully he will be back. And Alaji Fanang, hopefully Janin Sungarobe Bana Bebe Jela. Mbafala na juber lal an la moyral mbafala ya barka bake ila patient comment sol ikamel nati sometimes buka be tahno because time mo katale kul kasiale but amanke konke ignore hakilo bebe kan just ko le kasia bari mbafala barka ngi appreciate so much ila time and ila energy la barka
Ini baraba kende so
jërëjëf ajaratu Ndey asalaamaaleykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh maa ngi nuyu delloo nuyu bi ci yow ajaratu Ndey maa ngi nuyu Mr. Dabo di ko gërëm di ko sant ci teewaay bi teewee tey bàyyi soxlaam yi ñëw waxtaanal askan wi Moustapha it maa ngi ko gërëm di ko sant because nekkut ku tayal am na bambang ko try pour di ko jéem a jàngal saay caay waaye nangu so jërëjëf ci taxawaay bu set bi nga taxaw bu sella ci suñ koom-koom réew maa ngi nuyu Assis Bojang maa ngi nuyu Bamba Mass maa ngi nuyu Alaaji Seydi Baro foog na Assis daal bi gaay yi yóbbee vidéo bi si IGP bi daal ci la ragal ak ñëwaat waaye am nga police keba warut a ragal police
Suleiman yaa ngi
I
tonte.
hope ne he'll be with us next week inshallah maa ngi gis Alaaji Seydi Baro tamit mu ngi tontu fa Silla because mu ngi bindoon maa ngi ko gis standard newspaper mu ne Assis dafa bugga xam Alaaji Bojang mu ngi instigate gaay pour taal dëkk bi mu ne man maa ngi compare Sénégal ak Gambie nga xam ne bokkuñ waaye man am time pour tontu yooyu because it's like ñu ne sooy dox xaj bu la sànni xeer boo taxawee nga ne dangay sànni xaj boobu xeer doo àgga fi nga jëm so li gën a am solo rek mooy nga put the message across foofu ñi ko war a gis ko ñi ko njëriñoo ko ñoo xam ne nag naka la sudut noonu lañ ñooñu kenn du leen jox time o audience maa ngi leen a nuyu di leen sant di leen gërëm jërë ngeen jëf.
So thank you so much. First of all, we would like to seize or take this opportunity to say congratulations to your new paper, which is the Republic Clock Year. So we'll say congratulations in that. We know it's not that easy to get that far, especially in the Gambia with all the ups and downs. Congratulations to the Republic, your new newspaper, Mustafa Dabo. On that note, I would like to first of all you to share your thoughts with us when it comes to corruption and anti-corruption. We know this is happening. We know it's something happening in the Gambia, and the Republic is well known for investigative journalism, and this is something that you stand for. You stood by and you maintain this. I'd like to think this is not something easy back home in the Gambia. There's some challenges, could be some ups and downs, but nonetheless, you still stand your grounds and you still stand firm with this, Mr. Dabo. In the first place, investigative journalism, your thoughts on this? We know sometimes some of these things, you might say to define it, we all know the meaning, but if you can define it for us in your own terms, would be much obliged, Mustafa.
Hey, so I'm happy to be here. I mean, well, I wouldn't like to say that investigative journalism is difficult. I think that all that we need is people who are just willing to do it. It's like being an advocate, being an activist in a particular sphere, wanting to see change in a community. I think that investigative journalism, which is mainly exposing wrongdoing, holding authorities to account, it could be a human rights violation that went unattended to, or theft of public resources that went unattended to, or unnoticed, or or maybe not unnoticed, but it's buried beneath some chaotic mass of facts which obscure its understanding. I mean, to borrow Mark Levanter's words. I think that its practice is very it's fundamental in the progress of a nation, because the democracy, they say, is that the rule of a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And you cannot have a government for the people unless the resources of the people are spent on their welfare. So in other words, democracy is not elections, it's not freedom of expression, it's not protests. All of this is important and parts of democracy, but democracy is a full package, which means efficient governance in total. Efficient governance, which means public resources are going to be raised, they are going to be guarded, they're going to be protected, they're going to be well spent, they are going to be effectively utilized, the people are going to enjoy their lives. Democracy is a full package because you cannot have government of the people, for the people. For the people is very important. So, and that's why when I saw people saying we need the military back, I said no. You don't even have a democracy yet, so don't give up on it. Don't give up on something you don't have. Because democracy is a full package. It's not freedom of expression. It's not like what Barrow is saying. We have freedom. Yes, true. The junglers are disbanded. All this is true. The freedom of expression has improved under Barrow. All this is true. But the fact is that is not what democracy is. For democracy to exist, the government itself has to be serving nothing else except the people. And so democracy, corruption should not exist, or if it exists, it should be fought in a democracy, because it means government has to exist for the people. And when there is corruption, the resources are not for the people, they are for the few. So you see, and so if you don't have investigative journalists, you cannot have a complete democracy. Why? Because there are layers of accountability in every state that exist. And these layers of accountability, like say, for example, you have the executive and you have the parliament watching over the executive, and you have the judiciary arbitration, judging on all affairs. But then you have to have an external accountability institution or infrastructure. Let's say, for example, where activists comes in. If parliament, now if the parliament holds the executive to account, now who holds the parliament to account, right? So if the police holds the ordinary, average, everyday citizen to account, who holds the police to account? There has to be someone who watches the policeman, right? And that's why it's important that investigative journalists, that activists exist in a democracy. Without their existence, there cannot be democracy, because you cannot, government is a beast that has oftentimes proven, any time in the history, any period in the history, to be incapable of doing the right thing without being conditioned to do so. No government had existed without and function effectively without proper accountability. So in a situation like that, you need an external checks and balances. And that's why investigative journalism is very, very important. Very important. And I can run you through all these stories that, so for example, back in 2020, for example, when we started Managan, I mean, think about it. Would there have been Dr. Banja investigation or prosecution if we didn't work on this story? Probably not. There may not have been issues raised by mining or indiscriminate mining that was happening in Combo South had we not published a story about it. The issue of penny appeal, there was a British-based charity that was in whose campus number of children were abused, boys were raped, all these things. Lot of things happened there. And the government took the case to court, and because of pressure, because these guys are from a big Marabout family, and they came and said, well, there is no case. And we investigated and found there was a case, and they brought the case back to court, because when we published, the other agencies saw that, and the government does not want to be at the wrong side of donor agencies, at the wrong side of international institutions like UN, like the World Bank, like America, like, they don't respect the citizens, but they respect the one who holds the tab, the money, and gives them money. And so if those guys see this kind of stories and raise, why, guys, some children are abused, and your newspaper, it's done a fantastic story, they will bring it back. So in that situation, they brought it back. Even more recently, the story about a charity that we published, I think last year, July, on the Republic, which you can read about, Project Rescue Children. This is a fake charity that is running a lot of mess. and it claiming a lot of things about child protection that it claims to have been doing in the Gambia. We investigated, and but currently, recently, not long ago, I was contacted by a police officer who is actually started work in investigating that story, in investigating the basis to build a case against that charity. So you see, without investigative journalism, a lot of those and a lot more work we've done would have gone unnoticed. So investigative journalism is very, very important. It's very, very important. I mean, even us. Right now, people have gone quiet on sale of assets of the former president, but journalists are bringing back. We've done 2 stories on it, and we're about to publish our 3rd major story on it, which is the biggest one, which looks into every aspect of it. So that's the subject.
We will come to that. Yeah, we'll come to that, Mustafa.
It would not be a subject I will be able to discuss in detail. But once we publish, we can always come and talk about it. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is that these are what makes investigative journalism very important.
Thank you. Right. Ahande?
Yeah, Mustafa Ngajele, explain, Eladoko as investigative journalist and ala Coleman Ika Inyanta Bekela with the Republic newspaper. And again, come Mustafa Yavanyamen, congratulations. But Mustafa, until after I just explained also local language, but local language na mol, because generally mol kejele Mustafa Suwande Dabo. Facebook bajele before publish live bajele call before la dolbe agree la dolte agree la some yeje anti-government, some yeje pro opposition, some yeje pro government. So call baby one newspaper and one person kungotole. So it's a doko till after I explain more munemu in the local language don't call munemu investigative for it tara masakuda no madron ke kajafi ka ke la ku wol fintinde la ku won men bete aka fintinde what for munemu it's a doko ti me alon ko molsa understand no ko amanke dron kamansa kundala ku kurungol fintindi ka do ku dulala ku kuringol fintindi ka NGOs la ku kuringol findi bot ila role.
So nde intela nte abembulu nyame nte in fact ni kwenye itemu oppositional. I tell you yes, itemu oppositional. So I think it's important ni molo ko banko etanyato inyanta clarity sotala clarity wala nka ay koyi kungo kono to la do ko momenti ya jele yo democracy comme into la jang banko la doyata ibajela ni momo ni lawyer kendo na de kai run for presidency ni police kendo na de kai run for presidency they get impressed easily. So but memu point banko to develop no la for police also to me you look at it and say this policeman is exceptional. Ye journalist also to me along ko ya feel ko you ala do ko kanula alone ye police officer. So banko ka bill wala nyam yaje so momo bala do ko wala sansa wala soto o sansa ngo ngata nyanta tarra do ko wala ko bara manya na tarra do ko wala sansa ngo fana ko naka bil ko modol kana ka fa he ba ita mo position wala ka wa okay yeah so katin na ka mental conditioning soto. So for example niko ita mo opposition so ye bulolo because they are saying ita mo opposition. No, that's not the point. The point is mol ka for puruka situation no nyenka distort yo puru nyin kamala puru ila ye bulolo o be do ko men na yabula ninkum civil society to anin kisiro to comme musalve journalist la call to ten opposition yaman soto yaje opposition yaman soto banko mo be business wallet yaje mo be fankole mo me alon ko tanko mo be do wallet yaje. So ndebe menna mbake kan kungole yajel kodo men katinyante talem like that is so me, that's why I said clarity is important. This is how I approach issues. So for example, if I see you steal from Nawek, it's like you steal my money. It's mine. It belongs to me. Whether ite o fahamu nyama o poeta mo fahamu nyama, that's your problem. But the kodonying is mine. Kodome ka baro juala is mine. Niatala to the finest detail. Maybe I will have 1 cent there, but that 1 cent is mine. So everybody mobile and share sort of kodome along like a baro juala, mobile and bututo sort of kodome along like baroka domo aka baluala, mobile bututo sort of kodome along naveki kadila. So when ninta wulta kau kodo nyininka, even if I'm an opposition, fine. That money is mine. I'm asking about my money. So don't confuse yourself. Like, so this is what I tell them. I tell them, don't confuse yourself. I'm talking about my money. So it doesn't matter whether I'm UDP or I'm APRC or NPP or, what matters is that I am asking a legitimate question. And the legitimate question is, what did you do with these resources? And how did you do with that resources? So before me, confusion jamale bejang. So mbe wala for kan before nimbe program okay kan kai, for example mole kana ndola ndoko ni bale ka bere. This start a story published na ya for ko eti altola commanding called on investigate. We've had those kind of things. Or ya for ha ajibete kamolmen be investigated ke published but commanding called on penalize. But ni shita ya jibe because coming hani sai man tonya fono but hakil tinyake. So ni shita yo be fayi kono, you tend to think maybe okay. Yeah, maybe in the commanding called run maybe in the commanding called run investigate. So sai ninte commanding, okay, let's even say that is the truth. Sa ninte commanding call investigate. Sa moment commanding ka sungol mota. Society man sula. Society sula tawla. Sa we should just find another person member na full of sungol mota. Another person member na surua sungol mota. Right? So but the point is, so coming what I'm trying to say is Jan society more a lot of misinformation, disinformation that create. Imagine how political ya confuse well. Mandinka party, Wolof party, Fula party, Jola party. But in truth, Gambia Ports Authority, ne ania mandinko kije. Eko ha mandinka fasa le miye mandinko ke MD, Gambia Ports Authority, and amando kuono. Naya tinya. You know that I kodomen tinya mandinka jelatam. Over 800,000 mandinka semembe in Bangkok or lelta. Sa ye mandinka killing tombong and all family. I ports tinya mandinka kilie balu ports la tinya rokono. Mandinka 800,000 na nafulu ayo tinya. What sort of logic is that? So but people don't rationalize ethnicity like this. So they come and say, let's support each other. And all of the groups are talking about this. But the truth is that you're going to ruin your collective investment. And what collective investment majority, anytime, if you appoint 2 Wolofs, like you have a government of 40,000 people. That's how many employees Gambia government has, right? Okay. If you employ 40,000 people based on negative ethnicity, you have 2 million people. They are outside. And 40,000 people is managing their money. You use ethnicity to appoint 40,000 people, which means you are helping 40,000 family. Let's say every family member has 5 dependents. That is still not up to 500,000 people, right? So when you banko bela kodotinya, this 1.5 million people, will they go home hungry? How is that fasaro? That is not fasaro, because at any Wolof you have helped to destroy the country, there is much more Wolofs whose resources he destroyed, who have not benefited. So he will fasar from all fasar. So at any point you fasar one Mandinka, you have gone against 20. At any point you fasar one Wolof, irrationally, you've gone against 20. So what's the point? So what's the logic? You see. So but more useless can you confuse? So for example, nibe journalism lesine afwe it near story publicists afwe item UDP in called. Muna mu UDP in called or ita kontom dawalat. Or item manding call it. Okay, that's fine. It's your business to deal with. That is not mine. You know, for me, I have a job to do and I go home and I sleep. You cannot sleep. That's your business. Yeah. So for me, that's how I deal with this kind of prejudice. It is not many of our careful. They don't believe it. But it's careful because it creates confusion. You see. And so, and that's very important for people to understand. So one time I was investigating, but this was before I was with Malagan and I was investigating a particular situation. And I went to meet this guy who was responsible for, he participated in the security port deal. And we were having this conversation back and forth, you know. So I told him, but the Attorney General, when the security port deal came, and the Solicitor General at the time, this is a bad deal, don't do this. And you still went ahead and do this. You're not the legal advisor of the government. You work at the Ministry of Information. The guy was then permanent secretary, that Office of the President, Directorate. They created this thing when they came in, Office of Investment, something like that. Permanent Secretary, Investment, Office of the President. Which, by the way, was a repetition because there is GAIPA responsible for investment. Why do you need to create an Office of Investment? Anyway, but I mean, so when they did that, and I told him, so he said, because at the time the Solicitor General was Cherno Mare na Mandinka, he said, so you are siding with your Mandinka brother. I mean, that was interesting to me. I told him, oh, okay, that's very convenient, but the minister was Sarahule. So the minister is not important to the solicitor. So you see, I'm just giving you an example of how convenient issue of item oppositionality, issue of item. So instead, so they will not say, okay, is it Tuanyal for Tuanyat? Because near for wrong, that settles the debate. So for example, Nina okay, Barola food, Barola Ndawalo, let's say, whether it's true or not, let's say 150,000 was Yata. There's a man didn't call him a jealousy. So, but that is besides the point. Okay, he may be Mandinkan, he may be jealous. That's fine. That's all good and nice, but that's besides the point. The point is now, let's focus on the subject. But you see, the reason why more ethnicity, some and political kono, ethnicity, some journalism kono, not just ethnicity, also party colors, all those things, is purka more confused. Kachakana keno. Because ni more man clarity sort of do quote a keno. Kachata keno or offender keno. So now example already about ports, about other places. You know. So new fasa, near more fasa. Yeah, okay, and then I don't get a president or for example, Nko Mandinka Fasa, Mandinko ke Gambia police officer la, Gambia police chief. Mandinko me aron kamando kono. But Mandinka Fasa ngake waraka. There will be crime all over the place. Mandinko will be fala everywhere. Right? So you made an incompetent man for the love of tribe, that the chief of police. And now you have 20,000 800,000 Mandinkas insecure because of that. You think that is Mandinka Fasa. And that's the logic. Do you following, right? Exactly. So what debates, they don't bring them to me. I mean, because for me, you bring it to me, I tell you that thank you. I'm an opposition actually. I am against the president. It's my job. I'm against the president. Like, because my job is to look into what the president is doing and whether or not what the president is doing is right or wrong and publish it. My job is investigating wrongdoing. So I am not in the business of telling good stories. I am in the business of telling bad stories.
Mustafa, is you explain your job? Yeah.
Kuma kende foleti. comme ndeka kiskis rola ke anu kiskisiro kunta dawda don tinyaro la kunta je tinyaro la keta wala kiskisiro sabu so ni momo nata pour ka tinyaro lankenema o manna dali lala mbanto tantan kosode o dongo anata tinyaro le lankenema anu ni tinyaro lankenema ta mola bita prison o mola be blame la mola be kajafila mola tobe fola mola be bulo chodi la mola benenna wala muntal doko so ni ko mo personality because of that thank you yaja so ndeka address wala nyam so it I mean you hear that e ba fole itemu UDP itemu GDC itemu Unity itemu and also the third thing is more ethnicity in this country. They are so scared of it. So, honey, so for example, in terms of nin surua biased and because ninga for bafala is tribalist. No. So all those things, they look at people, good people in this country. Yet tribalism seka ya minila and yet to discredit them.
Mustafa, you are right on that. I had a conversation, heated debate with somebody. We always have this heated debate, and the debate was so heated. And the person called when the person started calling me a tribalist. After I said that my father is from Yamina Kudang, the person just said that I'm a tribalist and I'm helping hiding my tribesmen. And I was shocked because you don't expect it from certain people. I was shocked that the debate went there, and I said, no, let's keep the discussion on the issue. Let's not go on there. Yes, but then I was labeled tribalist because I'm anti-Barrow. I'm against Barrow. I've criticized Barrow more than I did with Yaya Jammeh, which is false anyway, more than I did Jawara. So yeah, I agree with you how it's been used, especially now.
But the point is, the more much poignant point is Barrow is not a tribal warlord. Barrow is the president of the Republic of the Gambia, heading all the tribes of this country, managing the resources of all the tribes of this country. So, for example, when I question how Barrow spends my money, I'm speaking for myself and my family, right? At a more individual level. When I question at a much bigger level how Barrow is spending our money as a country, I'm doing so as a collective, right? And I can even speak for Mandinkas. I can even say this is that's what I'm a tribe like Jambakel. They're so afraid of it. Like they show, of course, prejudice exists. So you go to Mandinkas, they have prejudice. You live in a majority Mandinka community, they have prejudice against Fulas. They have, so those prejudice, you have to speak about them so that you can be able to address them, because prejudice comes from ignorance. Prejudice is when you look at something you don't understand and assume, right? That's what prejudice. That's why there is no scientific basis to prejudice, right? So, but these prejudice are not fundamentally problematic, except if we don't talk about it. But young, more senator people are so scared of ethnicity that they don't discuss it, because politicians have weaponized it.
Yes.
And when they weaponized it, not only, you see, that's why Nelson Mandela, when he came to South Africa, and he said, I am not going to empower the black people like the white people did to disenfranchise and to abuse the rights of the white people. Because if I do that, I am opening my own people to reprisals whenever they lose this privilege. So, because if you abuse people, if they get privilege, they will respond, they will retaliate, and that could be devastating. So you don't empower anyone you love to abuse another person.
Yeah.
Right? Now, but because in this country we've never had this conversation, so there is no clarity, right? And so when you are doing journalism, they will come and say, well, you are opposition, you are your surname is this, your party is that, You are asking this question. You are this. You are a tribalist. So all these, like I said, are attempts to push us away from the conversation and attempt to make us not do the job the way we should do. So, like I said, if they call you an opposition, tell them thank you. Yeah, that's what I am. You know,
it's
like an accountant and an auditor, right? An accountant and an auditor, they have a different job. The accountant is in charge of the books. He makes sure the payments are done right, the accounting process, the documentations are done right, the account statements are done, everything is done. The auditor, he comes to verify whether there are any loopholes, whether payments that are done supported with evidence, whether payments are done right, whether some payments might be fraudulent or something. If the auditor, if the accountant considers himself as a working relationship partner to the auditor, that accountant is a fool, because they are not. The auditor's job is to make sure the accountant does everything right. And if he does not do everything right, report him to higher authority. You see, so we need to have clarity, and sometimes that clarity would be us who are doing the job. Like, you are an advocate, I'm an activist too, I'm an investigative journalist, you guys are activists. Do it the way you know how and to the best interest of the country. And so whoever has this kind of prejudice, you can educate them. And if they don't want to listen, hopefully they will learn along the way, because people do learn. I mean, I have interacted with a lot of people from different backgrounds, so people do learn along the way.
Okay. Akumata bake Mustafa, I mean, because man la fi kachai, bi kachai maybe janning konko be mutala kadimina lafta fanna jamaliji, because lafa jibelal anti-corruption aning alias safaro minke foye GPPC la MD suspend aning access to information aning fanam jamel aseto awaf tanyamen lafta ngo fannal be jibe bi, you know, because you know points of the mi alon ko ikumata bake le nin tol jarra ka fo comment sol bina nin tol jarra ka fo be tol folale, because akumata bake nyin ko konal. So anti-corruption GPPC la MD a suspend minna and access to information ATU commission and jane sales of Jama asset Karim.
Yes, Mustafa Baraka Bake mbe Mr. Dabo kontonna Bake mbe lamorlan kontonna mbe Mr. Dabo lamoy kan wotuma mbe tafsirola ndafo ngamira fo time yen ay mbolele, because ngamira tala lule mbadet la bari nyina rako tunte o Kenya kamala nyimbasen ko luya ka kandi Bake, so maybe wolle batin na time be falinna pour kaje ko dulamen ka kandi wo ning wulara ma fon sita balola tarol be ka fenkele, you know. So imaji ala barta nyamen bari mbela mo lal be ko no Mustafa ante dame munna jahal dulati I mean Mr. Dame munna jahal dulati wala mu throughout ila do ko kono, apart from pour ye tumi ke stigmatize ko nying opposition olemu wara nying kondomu double therefore ida better la UDP le or something like that, because saying ngamira double fulal be president ya nyino la maybe asikeno ya ameta nyawnya be sawundi la parti do parankorale bari apart from that Mustafa ya lonte nyin sifal bukante jahal, because ntol kan kuwala le nyin tribalism syndrome
Dabo fula. I think there is only one Dabo there.
No, there is another one may party kutolo sign abe finti kanang afananko alafta president yala, so sign momo kondomu Dabo de ni me fay jana be fay la janal, so ngalo no ko sa tul betar na dulalo to ngal fay
you know that is interesting, because someone says the easiest path to freedom is multiplication of your masters. So if I have 2 masters,
exactly,
that's good.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Wala nang ko side dam kunang ko lali pare dem bekara la find from one box to another. So bari wo Mustafa wo nyanta mo banku dingo be kontan la le pour ibajela ko, because mo tilimbalo damale kalafika mo tumi. Ntol mo misilimo le tanu misilme adino manson tumi ron. Kila ko hanni hada madimu niye kanolala. Kontenga kanola ndeila nga kuma fama. kumo nying anata na ke faniati nyantante busala busa nyada tansailela 60 las 80 lases andum jannin be fala nyantante kumandila wuloda mal fo jannin be fala oto da mal nyanta tarlan kunna andu wala misilme sariyan wol ndolla mol men ka kawandoke men fawlu ka kawandoke wala fawlu ka molu tumi fan ibuka dalil sotala akan jahali baka ite alqur'ano hafiya e ka tumiro ke andu yalo ne alay mun fa tumiro yo bari mustafa alla do ko kono ite mun ka kela kole ya koti wala mun ka kela sone ya koti e ka investigation ol soto nyame because mustafa kan jahalle de nte men famu nyepetoti wato do bete ka dol bondi la randa ko don te ka fo fanya mustafa kan yinke nyaadi le malo I envy you sometimes. So ika pero keno nyaadi le pour kanyi kubalu men yalon ko akamanza kunda ko dimi ika ol bondi no nan kularan ko to nyaadi de despite all the stumbling blocks.
So that's the good thing about what is happening in the Gambia. Now, the good thing about what's happening in the Gambia, now, first and foremost, it's not me alone, because even whether at Malagan or now, I have a lot of people I work with. So, for example, right now, I have a team of 6 people I work with. One of them is a volunteer, and a lot of, and also there are a lot of volunteers, like a lot of volunteers you meet on the street. They read our work before we publish, a lot of volunteer lawyers, activists here and there. So there's always, so the thing about Gambia is that there is a team that is willing to do something. Either, I think they are disempowered. So I don't know how to put this across, because one time I was talking to somebody and I was telling him, you see, I think there is so much, there are different people at different places, from different political parties, from different socioeconomic backgrounds, who have a certain conviction about what we need to do here to move forward. And they have very little patience in pursuing it, but they are not together. They're not in a team. They're not in one team. So you have political parties that are a combination of many things. Some who have no idea what they're doing, some who have interest in other things, some who are interested in moving the country. So the solution would come when you have those like-minded people with the same consent, the same level of impatience, because impatience is very important, the same level of positive ruthlessness together. And so for us, what we do is we try to be the platform where we try to mobilize that common resentment, and so if you harness that anger, you can always reach out to people who are in a position of grievance, and you would be surprised. A lot of people reach out to us. So this GPPC story he was talking about, that my colleague did, I was written by Joseph Usman Sedik and supervised by Talib Hydra, who was editor at the Standard. When I was the one who received this whistleblower. When he came to meet me, it was in July last year. He was complaining salaries were late. He came to meet us. He was complaining so badly that I thought he needed money from me. And you can see, I mean, that's the kind of despair you see in this country. I mean, when we were about to do a story on penny appeal, it was one Badibunka guy. I'm not praising Badibunkas for saying this, but it was one Badibunka guy who was so interested in the affairs of those children that he always bring them home, feed them, question them. And in the interactions, he saw bruises and all these marks and all this, and he's from Salikene. And he documented this and he helped these children. And these children are from multi-ethnic backgrounds and all those things. And he assembled them into one unit. And he approached one journalist and he said that journalist has asked him for money. So he heard about us. He approached us. And we said, well, we don't take money for this kind of stuff. If in fact, if you're bringing me a story and you give me money, that's problematic because that's bribery, right? Now, so we took the story and started working on it. So you see that there is always someone who approaches you most often with a lead. You know, they don't come with all the evidences, but they come and tell you, well, we have this concern, this is happening. Sometimes they understand what's going on, sometimes they don't. But the evidence is because of the nature of lack of transparency in this country. You have to go to different places, you have to approach different people. And so what we do often is, like any other investigator would do under these circumstances, is to identify people who are aggrieved. Because in any situation, there is always someone who is not happy. Whether it's a middle rank executive member who sees boss they are chopping money and he's not happy, or is somebody who is denied promotion and is not happy, or is somebody who is angry because salaries are paid late, as in the case of GPPC, or is somebody who has not been promoted for a long time and he sees the relatives of this person being promoted. Or, you know, so there is someone who is always not happy. And this kind of grievances we harness. And that's why I said anger is very valuable resources that we have. And we have a lot of it in the Gambia. It's a good resources. We need to harness it. But the problem is when it's not harnessed, it explodes. And when it explodes, it turns into violence. And that's what created Jame. There was an anger that was not harnessed. There was an anger that was not addressed. There was a resentment within a certain section of the population that was left unattended to. And the people in power were so convenient, were so comfortable that when Jame came and harnessed that anger, he got the people. And so people were not celebrating Jame because they don't know him. But people were celebrating the exit of Jawara because they were aggrieved at that time. So it's the same thing that happened after Jame. Nobody knew Barrow. So people could not celebrate what they didn't know. But they were aggrieved with Jame. And so they were celebrating the exit of Jame. And Barrow came at a big gap that was supposed to be you know, a moment when you run, you are so tired, you're so thirsty, and someone stops you and gives you water. Barrow is supposed to be like that. And that's what he is. That's what he became.
A blessing in disguise, in a way.
Exactly. And so so we were not celebrating Barrow's coming as such. I mean, some of us were at the heart of things because we were reporting and doing a lot of things, you know, within the campaign trail. So we were so involved with what was happening. But a lot of folks don't know Barrow. They just knew that, look, we've got rid of this guy. And that is why nobody was going around. Of course, people were going around with Barrow's picture. But largely, what do you see? You see people decimating Jame's images. Because they were so angry with him. And they were pulling down his billboards, everything. You know, everything Jame, nobody wanted to see him because they were fed up with him. You know, and so you could see, I mean, you know, the struggle the country had to go through to sort of you know, remove Jame from its consciousness, from its life, from its clothes, from everything, you know. And so, you know, to a point, it became a radical move. I mean, so essentially what I'm trying to say is there is always group of people who are not happy with the circumstances, and they are happy to join hands. But the problem we have in this country is that we haven't got these people in one group yet. And when we are able to do that, and that's going to be very tough, we're going to move the country forward. But unless we do that, we are in the pockets of political groupings, ethnic groupings, social, economic groupings, different groups. Society is so grouped into even Mandinkas alone. I'm telling you this. If you ethnic cleanse Gambia, God forbid, and leave only Mandinkas in this country, by next election, the Dabos would be on their own. They would say, you see, These other Mandinkas are not true Mandinkas. The so-named Dabos are the best. James are the Olem Forolti. The so you see, this is what society, this is what human beings are. They always want to build social status, because human beings also always want to be on top, and to be on top you have to build classes, because without classes, how do you get to top? There has to be classes for you to be on top. So they will always create this kind of thing. So the best way is to, I'm not anti-class, so I'm not saying anti-class struggle, but you have to dismantle some of these mental roadblocks we have, and to sort of get people who have similar vision on the same platform. And often, so I see our work more like that. So when we have a case, we approach different people we think are going to agree with us on pursuing this matter to the end. And these people, they naturally, because they also have their interest served by this, because human beings are interest beings. Even voting, why do you vote? Even if you said you are going to vote for a Mandinka, why would you vote for a Mandinka? Because you think that Mandinka is going to serve your interest, whether this sentiment is misguided or not, whether this is based on facts or not, whether this is based on knowledge or not. So human beings, so we have to find a way to, that's why when people are properly educated, they always serve the society's interest, because their interest becomes society's interest. You see, so these are some of the things we will need to work on. But essentially, we always
let me
find.
just interject there quickly.
Okay,
When you say educated people, when people are educated, they tend to serve the interests of the people. But if you look at it now, there is, a huge increase of, educated illiterates. So when I say educated illiterates, these are people who are book qualified, but when it comes to understanding basic concepts of humanity, they are lacking. Basic concepts of responsibility, basic concept of ethics, they are lacking. So you cannot call these educated people who represent the interests of the people. From all what you've been saying, I've been listening and I was following very keenly, and I've picked that, the mental conditioning of the Gambian populace is what is holding us back. Because despite some of us being educated, being graduates, experts in various fields, we do not own our minds. We let politicians, we let community leaders, we let our families, we let our friends dictate what we live, what we think, and what we do. For instance, you spoke about this tribal factor, which has been weaponized by politicians. But it's not only the politicians who constitute a society, it's the people that constitute a society. So one person, I understand, and everything start with a step or begin somewhere, but it is the general people that would accept it for it to become, a condition or a law or a precedent. Let's look at Senegal, for instance. Now, when they started talking, filming their series Betty Betty, the whole nation was enraged. Why are they talking about this? The journalists, the imams. But now, if you look at it, everybody is beginning to openly talk about it and to accept. And because they've been talking about, something that was a taboo in the society, it has opened the minds of a lot of their people, and even some of us Gambians as well. So this is what as a human being, you don't try to be better than other people, but you try to be better than who you were. But you can only do that by comparing yourself with others who have progress and where you came from. But in the Gambia, I appreciate, like you stated, is like when you are truthful, when you are honest, you are alone. But again, if you are afraid to be alone, you would never continue to be honest and truthful. And what we are doing at this civic education program is to recondition the mindset of the people by bringing people like you who can talk, sense to the community. who can, discuss things with substantive evidences, empirical, evidences, so that people can see actually these people are just not talking because they want to talk, or they're not talking just because they are hustlers, or they're not talking because they're frustrated. Like you said, when they said, I am a frustrated, person, citizen, I said, yes, I'm frustrated. I am frustrated because I am not happy with the way the government, is running the state. I am frustrated. I am angry because I am not happy with the way my public resources are managed. I am
Suleiman,
frustrated.
your mic is echoing, and some people are also writing having the same experience.
I don't know, because this has been
Yeah.
so we must, like you said, there must be that clarity, that sense of owning, things. When they say you are frustrated, you are seeking for employment. I am a citizen. I have a right to seek employment. If I don't seek employment, how would I survive? So if you say this one is a job seeker, obviously that is the truth. I need to seek job to survive, to live. But that does not make me a person who should be ungrateful to myself or to my country. But for them, because that is the concept they created, so they try to use that to silence people. They say, oh, this is anti-Barrow. I'm not anti-Barrow. I am anti-Barrow's attitude. I am anti-Barrow's leadership.
Suleiman,
In fact, Suleiman, if you are,
people are complaining about language, because I think people are used to local language in this program.
Yes. Thank you, Day. Thank you, Day. You're following.
Local language, Ali also. I think,
I was following the YouTube, but someone just mentioned on the Facebook side of it, and then they said that this program is important, but majority, and then someone says that Ali SK, and then you got someone saying, Suleiman, your microphone, and quite interesting comments coming through. Keep an eye on there. It will be nice.
Let's just put there, try to get to the.
What I think some might be problem because I've set my consumer Google account I've got it on my different tabs. So some on this one that they reflect on the other. So I try to change reset that. Unfortunately, my IT skills are just rusty. So Mustafa, you need to help me after to get that sorted. I was just Damadon just Njukal Mr. Dabo ci lim doon wax because all the time bim doon wax maa ngi ko déglu with keen interest te li ma fa pig mooy ne ñun suñ nit doomi aadama soo déggee ñu naan la kii nit la o kii lifin la sa xel bi moo wér waaye sa xel bi su wérul rek even su amee jëmmi doomi aadama dañ lay xoolee beneen melokaan. So doomi adama bala sa nitaay di mut danga war a own sa xel su ne moomal sa bopp it doesn't mean ne danga dem si biti jënd sa bopp or no, it means ne yow di nga mun a toog nga xalaatal sa bopp jëlal sa bopp decisions nga xool nga xam ne lii baax na ak lii baaxut. Nguur bi ñun ñëpp dañ mun a bokk ci nguur naturally te nguur gi du mun a employé ku nekk waaye dañ leen sax jox leen responsibility. So su defee gaay dem nañ ba gis ne ñun liñ yaakaaroon ci ñoom defuñ ko suñ warugal la ñu génna ñax leen ne liñ leen santoon defu leen ko. waaye nguur gi tamit li nga wax la dégg la nguur bu nekk obviously du dee comme li man di ngay deewa suwo si buri ñaaw fo sa la fa busola. So ni mala fa busola wadi do al borosi talado mande. So gis nañ ne am na leaders njiit ñoo xam ne we can look at Burkina Faso, Ibrahima Traoré, we can look at Senegal, Senghor leadership, we can look at Mali, etc. ñooñu they are less than 4 years in government. Why ni ñoo transformé seen dëkk yi is just overwhelming. Nga xool ñun suñ dëkk bi Gambia for 60 years yaa ngi claim to be independent and you are less than 2 million people. Dëkk bi mu ngi naka la sudut noonu. so ñu ne no dëkk baa ngi cool dëkk baa ngi lifit so da léegi-léeg dama dee xalaat ne ma ne Gambia reminds me like benn anecdote bi ñu wax am na ku involved in an accident boppam bi xalaat dog this passerby ñëw jàppa ko ne ko ne tiyel boppa bi ma dem ut something ma ñëw rabal la mu ne ko soo gaawut nga ñëw dinaa saani boppa bi so imagine this is your head he is passing by mu ngi laa jox support ne just tap tiyel bu baax ma dem ut li ma la ko rabal nga ne su ñëw teelut di nga sànni boppa bi so Gambian bi sometimes noonu laa dee feel.
No, but Suleiman yaje Mustafa ka memfo is very, very important. Coming kafo kono ntolla banko kan molbe jele men yalan ko they agree iniube sunuru ne iniube kuyare yo anno Mustafa yi memfo pour kawol be kafuna nyoma ka be fenke pour banko eta nyato ndenga mira that wonyanta kela silole timbe nyanta nyalo la menka because Mustafa jamme ni ya jube atolbe radio Gambia wato men Mustafa nyolbe karamoto warebe journalist yala ndejo bata nyolbe karamoto warebe journalist yala karaba island nyankara island woodland because ngaje la ko jama nyankara island mo jama ka bonan jele buke understand bari ni ajube ntolbe birimbe jamme struggle kono ndela ngani yo nyinati ko jamme banko nyin destroy le andu nyantale pour kan tew city nkana na banko jay tinya adama di ya nyanto be tinya kan jele molu adama di be toraka bari yara fa malon ko ntol men fawol bebe struggle kono mo dol be je wol dunta struggle kono le pour economical struggle itol dunta jele pour ye fam bete andi ye fam barakandi wol dunta o dalilol kama andun tanga o realize nyaadi le biringa jamme bondi the first week biringa jamme bondi dron diamo starta mo dol wulite ko ha ndol fanana ton le sita pour ka enjoy yaje nkatula nyim folande watu nkatula nyim folande diamo ko gambe di buka nyim kumo moy ba modol ben nawo kafo kono struggle kono je nimmenu be kelo ke nyola nimmenu be ka diamo nyola wole na si banko kay ko ndol fanana tonne sita pour ka enjoy Mustafa wole mu banko din kurol te nyanta wol identify la ngi jenkende karala because iman nyanna struggle kala nyin kamako itela tonne sita pour ka enjoy banko dingo bele nyanta enjo ngalo ne ko bulol man kanyang bulol be bul ko be jam fari nyotile mbela sotol tetar la kanyanding of course hom be ngo understand hana madi jato Mustafa jam fatale ndey sutiatale Suleiman Mustafa jamme sutiatale Mustafa Dabo jam fata ala enke wala nyama dol warta dol mesiata so nte keno la kilintin na harjewul fanam man kilin
akuma
inin do sita class Mustafa so domani inin do sita classroom killing fo lundo ya fo we boss bare amanya na kila nyindi ko mol nyanta mirale faw ko kono le ko ntolu nyanta enjoy lale on the back of modol la toralo ñine baro nati ñine baro farasindi ñine baro NPP lo ñin dalilo kama I was listening to Demba Sabali la diamo ngala video ñin sotombulu ja Mustafa be mbulu mbaki lena Demba Sabali ko 2020 draft constitution ako UDP le wo reject. Can you imagine this? Ako UDP le 20 ntamalon fo mol foye dimensial sotoban fo molu fo adu moya tinere modolu inyale lafta mala ban ntebuka understand because wuliya fo ntewo fola pour kalo ka faniya fo ntewoto dula fola mbe sunkaro no kono hanamadi inyanti la dino bunya la pour mo ko tawli la dino bunya ntede ngam fansia pour ka faniya fo sunkaro kono ma fo nana buka faniya fo de bari ngam fansia pour ka faniya fo sunkaro kono ka sunkaro ntenga fil ko kari bunyari mbale mo pour hanamadi o yello yekumo bay fo ya lon ko nyimmanke to nyaati misilme akono ntenga mira misilme dimo nyanta sila lola Mustafa ilafta men fola you can go ahead.
Okay.
Sulaiman jejelola nak Sulaiman jejelola ma bamba masla bari bamba ntata krabala de and very proud krabalandis ngadoje fanan comment ko barobota nyankar island barobota nyankar island in fact unfortunately ngamoy ko we were in the same grade the same not class but the same batch. Which is
okay.
Unfortunate and do not high school member at the same batch again. So anyway,
I was just going to say, I mean, the kind of claims that folks make, about Suleiman, or I mean, what Suleiman is talking about, the sentiment that this person is angry. So, Barrow does not own any resources, not one budget he spent. It's not his. It's not anybody's. That resources is everybody's, including Suleiman. So Suleiman has a right to speak about how that money is spent because it's his money, just as it's Barrow's, just as it's everybody. So it's a collective resources, right? And Suleiman does not need Barrow to agree with him or not. It's just that is just his position. Like you, I cannot come to a board meeting and as a board member of a corporation, I am a shareholder, and you are telling me, you are jealous of the CEO. That is silly. The CEO works for me. I'm not jealous of the CEO. I'm talking to CEO to spend my money the way I want it. So the idea that I am somehow jealous of the CEO, I am telling the CEO to do it this way. That is how now the CEO has a latitude, and the latitude being that he is the operational manager of the corporation. But I also have my role, which is the supervision one. And so if I disagree with the path that the CEO takes for the corporation, I can disagree, and I can make that disagreement public. Like right now, folks at Tesla, uh, uh, it is being said folks at his board are not happy because they see the corporation's values are going down, and Elon is the CEO, right? So the people who are shareholders, they have all right to hold Elon to account, to say, well, we think your involvement in politics is going to cost us. You need to watch it, right? And so the same role Suleiman has with Barrow. I mean, aside from being an activist, he's also a Gambian. And being a Gambian means that you hold at least 1% share in that corporation called Gambia. Like the country is, from a larger perspective, a business, right?
Yeah.
Because we've come together, we raise taxes. These taxes are managed by the state. So we pay an army to protect us. We pay the police to protect us from within. We pay immigration officers to make sure nobody just comes inside and outside. Things are managed from border point of view. Our identity cards and other things are done properly. This is what the investment is. Look at it. It's a business, right? So if we appoint a CEO in the name of a president, just that he's called a different name, and you tell a shareholder you cannot talk to the CEO like that, what do you mean? I owned it, I own this business. If he doesn't want me to talk to him, he should leave. He should quit. Exactly. So, but people out of ignorance make this kind of comments, and we cannot, for goodness sake, say because people are making these comments, we are going to stop. No, we move on to do what we know how to do, and hope that someday people will be educated. And for me, I'm not. That is why I said, often I say that what we need in this country is not mobilization of funds. Money we have is mobilization of critical minds. It's not opposition or president's party or political parties. No, it's critical minds, because there is no guarantee that the next political party is going to respect democracy, is going to do what we want him, what we want them to do. If anything I have learned, you can never know people. They can say nice things today, and tomorrow, all the people I come to find involved in crime, in other things, in theft, in a lot of unethical behavior, there are people who have said a lot of nice things before, right? And if, for example, all the people who are involved in a lot of mess right now, there are people who have said a lot of bad things about Jammeh and his ways, but some of them, they are doing the same things right now. So if there is anything we need, is not a trust in people. No. If there is anything we need, is a citizen who looks at every politician and every political institution and say, this is what you are supposed to do. So we are going to make sure you do exactly that. Right? And look at their president and say, this is your TOR. We're going to make sure you stick to this. Even when you are a member of NPP, because a member of NPP owns the money that Barrow is spending.
I think as Dogumala Mustafa Bugana Fanyo Tuti.
Exactly.
Gis ne suñ main problem mooy ne for instance when NPP ñu ne waaw man waruma génn in the open di wax anything against NPP or Barrow government bi. Once I do that, it's like man I'm anti-Barrow, man I'm unpredictable, munuñ ma control. So Bamba Mas Mungini, even though if things are not pleased with him on UDP, he cannot come out I'm party B or I'm not happy with the leadership in this way or in that way. So that is a problem bobu mota munuño hold suñ leadership accountable. Bepare leadership du ñu mëna jël serious because man lima gom moy ne nit ki soko buggé dang koy wax dëgga weda mu ci yoon o nekku ci yoon waaye doo àndaani rek always di ko jaay loolu du mbugeel and that's not loyalty loolu psychophancy la te indi Gambia loolu fa nekk so ba pare da nga gis ne some of them they would stand on the sideline ñu ngi laa cheer why they would not even want to henna duñ they understand your message bi nga wax sax because sometimes to say you they comment on my post niñ de binda ak henna man li ma de express dafa melni guddé bëccëg dama de won ndax ñi dañ read li ma binda njëkk ndax understand nañ ko bala ñu respond because comme li nga wax la nit ki xam nga su waxee something look at the issue at hand not the person li mu wax ndax dafa credible ndax credible ndax dafa am any use for the general populace or not. Why don't you say okay, Bamba Mas Hariti Sola, so anything limwa duñ ko déglu. So henna Bamba Mas rande Hariti Sola, so he's not gonna say anything lo hamne that ma hot suma ko dégge. So lolu du andando bu rafet. Te suñ politics bi war nañu sétat suñ taxaway. Ci lolu la bëggona yoka jërëjëf.
No, definitely. And just to add that I think that no institution will fix this country, whether it's political party or civil society or anything. Democracy begins after elections. Democracy is holding the leader to account. It begins after the election. So it has nothing to do with an election. So if, for example, we vote Barrow into power, everybody, including folks who are working, who voted for Barrow, now if they are properly educated, should now say, well, we voted for you because we believe in your policies, we believe in what you sold, and we are going to hold you to account to make sure you do those things. Because that's what is managing your money. So if you support him because he gives you $5,000, you never know what he's taking for himself, and that $5,000, once he's out of power, the tap is going to close. So so you would have wrecked the country and all of that, and I think that's important.
Thank you. Okay,
yes, I just want to Mustafa back to the investigative journalist, the work he does. Mustafa, until after you quickly explain more like investigative journalist along Gambia because I remember Asan Tixman Kabrinte, we were very young. Tixman has been somebody Asan Tixman. He was into this investigative journalism, and I remember those days when the crisis was really, really heated. We used to even meet Beach, that he will sit down there with documents. He is one person that really inspired me, and of course, at some point I was accused of taking information from my family down to him, but he was just somebody who inspired me. And then he was very lonely, unfortunately, at some point, and I've been very young. I tried to get things to him, money here and there. Well, but more jama malong investigative journalist movement Gambia. Mustafa Jele mobile follow ko Mustafa ka call investigate ka call check la ko. But more ma understand mune yete dundi nyito it don't ta kono wrong just because you sit at ko man la fi barola bari man la fi membe kedi Gambia dron ngadung mune yete dundi nyin ka suika foko be call kisi la ka kol bondi nyamo kono ka fintindi mole ya faham ka di mola sako mol me yalo ko be santoto village olto be siri buka kol hani melbe banjul fango buka kol understand melbe kombe boko bari kasi ka wota ite o ke da do ko te ko you have to mol yaje ite ka me mol ko long e ko understand mune ite dundi je ite kon kilingo you know ngalon ko yep mol sotole melbe do ko la bari pour kasi
yeah because like one time Halifa used to say Banku Diamant Chakant, so I mean you can underestimate it, but this carry a lot of things, and what it is that Limu Banku Dingoti or you are be mansa kundare law o mansa kunda anyanta tamande la nyameng itel la do ko mwati yajen akamda la komen ni bitiko law sa ya bitiko law itata e monyi ni nangi asamba na kai wafiro keji yaro itina e kana accountable so e kaje narol ni mol ni ila brodal bondi nang elsewhere ni samba nanja ni bitika kutoele modo sambaje every week kana jele ka accountable. And even told many along we are outsiders, you see that they come with their books so basically state katama walanya banko bela ko bitiko at a smaller level bitiko lam o bitiko nyim bela lotang deda so bitiko nyim ay mollel soto men yalon ko ngawlel ta wollen dokul wollen surukalde wollen dokulalde so dokulal nyim fo mollel soto kaje ko ya doku men dile baake kan andi baake kan ni silal la me yalon ko wala benta yajel ya kodo men dila e babondi kan te babondi kan nin kollel la ye dante men toya yajel ani ibabe bondi kan nyamale e mantra femma aboka e fangul fo mol susuto so wollen journalist wol bejele of course han man sakunda fan kono ye mol soto la men ka do ko comme men be ko auditol ni nata ye man sakunda audit or maybe police or maybe other law enforcement institutions saying right now maybe Anticorruption Commission or CFAL okay but saying will be a man sakunda kono will be a formal institutional no mello will be wala kono now investigative journalists will little buy bandalana now new man sakunda kono president be mararing a bela so but president o mara journalist ola yajela society la marata journalist ola ndo la perception o mwalati kamuta wala nyam media is public institution molel marata society la marata so society journalist la doku wala ye journalist la doku wala rapontoliye nyunu bula doku wala le pour ye na reporti ya bari mallela ali korosinye so journalist la do ko mo korosiro yajel so o journalist ni isi fa siata dol beje wol kan news le safa dron ya report dol beje wol ka kiskisiro rek ana be beta ya be news na fofu na beta but dol beje wol ka kiskisiro ke dol beje wol ka interview wol damma ke yajel so ni ajen to ya sik investigative journalism murunda be ko tata nun jannenu tata nun jan and I sembos ayirwata so biring kol tinyata jaminata tinyaro siata mul kabuti fenna me alon ko meke fang ni offense ave menga ma like ay mul arrest so journalism sembo tinyata back so bira tata mol ya feel ko saying bango nata murtana democracy nata freedom of speech nata jongular mantra jam kotenke so that means that science journalism solo from warata so all I feel calling colleagues before we sat down and then still now demanding but our challenges all siara jannade yalo nyin society dibita bakala e katra fen ko la fa ya foye karwol ko kata morol le ya ndeni ya ofonya fa wanka kamfala ngala nka koronto la nga publish is avoid ko karwol ko kata morol le ya o e katale morally. At the young society is a sick one. And that's the reality. It's a very sick society. It needs when you are inside accountability infrastructure in the Gambia, whether you are doing it as part of government or you're doing it as a journalist. What I'm more but young is a sick society, very sick society.
Mustafa, muna challenges or thing along Mustafa Jamme lafta kana. But mune la challenges sort because you're cooking for coming ibe sambala moral ya molka beje.
Many challenges. So for example, the first problem is investigative journalism the first problem me along what the biggest challenge that challenge access to information. So first thing is mansakunda mol be searing information wakan. You see, I see, government katula we are very transparent. Yes, this is true to an ordinary observer. But you see, there is a difference between an observer, ordinary observer, and a trained eye. A trained eye is looking for specifics, certain information. It's not looking for information. So I'm not looking for like COVID. When we were working on COVID, so we said COVID, they sent us bulk we spent this on equipment. I said, no, this is not what we are looking for. What we are looking for is how much medicine did you buy? Who is the contractor? Contracts with the contractor. How much money did you, how was it selected? GPPA approvals, right? Where did you buy? We want details. This is where accountability is. It's not in the bulk. It's not government saying, even judges don't say, sir, I find you guilty, and this is my view. You are guilty. No, they tell you how they found you guilty. So accountability comes with releasing specific information. It's not just information, right? So one of the things you would find very difficult in the Gambia is specific information. So the information that is relevant. So you can form opinion, not informed opinion. So do you have information that is relevant to hold the authorities to account, or information that is credible, or information that is that is sufficient to form a conclusion? So these are different things. So one thing you don't have is access to relevant information. That's one problem. Such that a story may along 1 week would take you 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or sometimes 1 year. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that you have a societal issues like ethnicity, political partisanship. Some people may along UDP, they have this sort of camaraderie, that it's my brother, I have to protect him. Nimolbe NPP, they have this sort of camaraderie. Exports in a party. No, that's a miseducation, because if NPP fixes corruption, if journalists expose a corrupt activity and NPP rushes to fix it, that is not, in fact, that is making them even more popular. It's not making them unpopular. It makes them even more popular. But because you're more miseducated to say, no, let's protect each other. It will be a scandal. No. When a good leader fixes a scandal the way he should, he gains popularity. He doesn't. Yeah. So, but they miseducated. So they created a lot of things. Oh, coming here, I told them, I told be manding quality, or I told be suruality, or I told be fulolity, you see, other people are protecting each other. Those kind of miseducation. I hear that a lot. Like, I cannot even begin to express how often it comes. Yeah. So, and I know other people in the same other groups also hear the same things.
Mustafa, ela nyinkumo mela nyinkumo by because I purukela kumo jansa dron. Just recently being amwele the issue at Basse Area Council. Oimela Stafford Jono. A senior member of the government approached the governor Kafueko local government be market a subvention or to for them to be able to, because a baby party killing them. And money was channeled. Malum for Allah investigation of the jela. Kodo ya channel through the governor of URR, pro Isadino chairman or Dumala, price staff or Jono. But other area councils are also struggling, and government nyanta subvention bukake. So why this particular one? Because you feel like a baby particular.
But if you Ibajela Kone after NPP took a certain bold decision and say we're going to hold this guy to account.
Exactly.
It will gain favor from even other independent-minded individuals. But you know, this is what happens. People tend to have lack of clarity. And if you want to be involved in accountability in the Gambia, you have to know, you have to be convinced of what you are doing, and then you do it. So the second thing is the misconceptions and the lack of clarity you come into contacts. The third issue is, you know, they come with all kind of issues, like so you are talking to people, you know, about you know, fenta bolaje story to publish la fenta bolaje, you know, and there are much more issues you cannot explain in the media. But I mean, look, it's a serious business in the Gambia, whether or not people believe in it. I mean, but it's a serious business in the Gambia. And they see, I mean, one person we were working on this story. Somebody reached out to me, Ila Security reached out, not Ila Security, but somebody reached out to us to say that Ila Security told them that Katata needs to file office. So Atata needs to file office. And so what is that ekako aba Alabama la hijibunya le mubang ibama la hijibunya ni so ebe file office, you know. So
okay. Akumara Mustafa, thank you.
And you know, so challenges are many, you know. Yes. So but there are much more.
Abaraka, Akumara Bake, thanks to Noha Fati, thanks for sharing Noha. Thank you, Aliyu Jaza, thanks for sharing Omar Juf, thanks for sharing Suleiman Jeng, thanks for sharing Dejawate, thanks for sharing the program. Okay, Ninkumbo Nyama, Kadim is hanging, still I can't see that share button with Kadim for some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, thanks for sharing the Republic as well, for sharing this very important information. Work out in the Kule for the Yenda for the Daming. Uruning kumbonya Mustafa kumata bake purungamol kalam tandijang naliaje, because mojamal ne comment box GB. If you have a look on the comment, a lot of people seems to be appreciating your ila effort nila katakul mi beke kakang. Wayatina nga link blajang the Republic nimin lafta yaje ko. Nimu fenne de mi alonko is benefiting the people. They aba banko dingol kunindi kanna, aba banko dingol makoy kanna, aba mol nyajo fita kanne. Link felenga bulajang the Republic nimin lafta ke donate ke makoy ke support, because aba nyimmi doko minateng nde ay ngamara num brimba Gambia we used to nka sifa jele, but ala doko kolea kul siata je bake le surtout ni ataranum ide kam mon la kulole wanyar. So momi yalonga wulta purka mon la kullo wanya wo pro ay kroso do wallahi makoy do so ate soneal wo puru ay dukota molbulu ate la fila, because ni moye dukudron sa entonya fonying abela fila kolea al demanding. So wala na puru the Republic ila fanko ka bondi ifangola jibola kono, ila makoy ro ka bondi ifangola jibola kono. So
well, we have some donors though. I mean, there are a number of people who have, and even now there are a number of course it's grossly inadequate, but they still have a lot of people who donate to our cause. Of course, you also have some people who want to donate, but you cannot accept donation from those people, like politically exposed individuals, like executive members of political parties, business people who are doing business with government institutions, those kind of individuals.
Okay. Purtonya fo kamala wayati na almost ifal ibigala fika donation o tawul bulu, because it after tilling on anintonya fo la nyinkul kono wala yatin na wo sifal. So individuals nimi yaje ko ibe min kekan ebe mul kunindi kan ebe mul na falale ñin lom link ti ngamin bula jang YouTube link and Facebook link afela ngake jang ni me aje ko akumare faransa share alla group to because more be mo jamale bi jam especially on the YouTube channel mo jama bale be jibero la water Facebook not a lot of people but mo jamale be jibero la YouTube at the minute so pour mo sa kalam to wonyama ni min lafta mako ro sifa ke la ñinnom link ti mi alon ko you can share it with friends and families and groups and niya tarano ni ne nyomoy ni la fa ke la lilla ala abet abokuma la kul kono bake bar Mustafa ko jannim be tala do la fe ma koy minto GBPC MD a suspend what went wrong monekeda
so GBPC tian jamara kitaje a lot of things ila finances are not doing well at all. The organization is not doing well at all. They have made some very poor procurement choices. This includes a lot of procurement money materialized almost 10 million plus dollars went into procurement may along another one deliver up till now. One of them is around close to 10 years now, another is close to 5 years. Payment deliver. It's likely to say, it's safe to say that we'll deliver because we all know that value of money increases over time. So the $10 5 years ago is not $10 now. You know, that's probably $200 is now. So if you had agreed with an individual and he had paid a certain amount, you've paid a certain amount to 5 million to an individual 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that's not 5 million now. So those are issues that happen there. Aside from that, also the MD is involved, he has created a business that is doing procurement for the corporation.
What is the name of the MD, please? Can you help?
The MD's name is Modu Sise. Okay. He was living in Bakote, but now at Salaji. And so he created a business called OZEC with two other partners. And this OZEC ICT Solutions was doing procurement, supplies for GPPC, a wide array of things. And so when that OZEC was, the issue was many times mentioned in the audit, he seemed to have stopped because somewhere around 2021, beyond that, we didn't find any transaction between them and OZEC, or around 2022. So then Jasakono, who is owned by his cousin, also started taking procurement contracts from GPPC. And Jasakono is owned by his Modu Sise's first cousin, and Jasakono actually operates in OZEC's office. So you could see, if I create a business called Dabo Business is made out. Now Suleiman Business comes, and Suleiman Business, owned by my cousin, now operates from my office, Dabo Business, right? You could see there is a relationship. And so those are kind of situations that happen here. It's many. I mean, procurement is a big issue here. You go to these councils, it's worst in the councils. You go to these councils, area councils, local government institutions, so you find that somebody has asked his brother to just go and register a sole proprietorship, and they register a sole proprietorship. So what they do is that they call them, I think, briefcase suppliers. The office people, they have names for them. We don't know what those names are, but I think they call them briefcase suppliers or something like that. So they go and to the organizations and they lobby for procurement contracts. So if they are going to supply pens, papers, rubbers, all these things, anything they will supply, they would say, okay, let's buy from you. We will give you a contract. So you call them and then you give them the contract. And these guys don't have a shop. So they go around the places. When they go around places, they window shop. And when they shop from different places, they bring you. Now, the problem with this is that it increases cost. If I am buying directly from the shop owner, I buy from a market price. And this guy charges me based on the profit he makes on the wholesale amount he got. But if I am buying from another person who also bought from another retailer, then I also put a price. I also put some amount on my amount. Do you see the point? So there is always a problem with this kind of procurement, and not to mention the fact that an MD who has an interest in his own financial well-being would create a business and award contracts to that business. So these are some of the things you come across, bro.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
yeah.
Modu Cisse is the one responsible. So how about sales of Jamme assets? Jammela ba ya Jammela ala assets or mini along ko ye wafu. For woko tata nyadile, Mustafa.
Well, Jamela assets all it's a bit tricky. I mean, there are a number of institutions that are involved. So we're working on finalizing some of those things. Hopefully we would be ready with our next publication before the end of this month or by the beginning of next month. But we have that fine. We have a second bit of it finalized. We're still waiting for some of the evidences because it's difficult. So you have to pick bits and pieces from institutions, because you know what happened in the sale of James assets is that different institutions sold different things. So Ministry of Finance sold the aircraft. The vehicles were sold by the Jane Commission. The tractors were sold by the Jane Commission. The real estate holdings and the shares and whatever, the dividends was responsible by the receiver that was appointed after the commission, which is Alpha Capital. And the other thing is the materials at Dunes was sold by a different auctioneer, also under the auspices of the commission. So different. It's not coordinated. So it's it's like your head spinning. It's not coordinated. So, but hopefully we will be. What I do know is that I think in the sale of all of what I so far know, only about $20 million was realized. So we hopefully we'll be able to go into the specifics. But we've published a story on the sale of the livestock, which was done by the Civic division of the High Court. We've done a story on that. You can read it on our website. We've done also a story on the sale of the aircraft. Of course, there are some more evidences we've come to have after that. So we'll
Mustafa, hold on a minute. Ibe memfokang, are you ikafo nyele banko Jamela asset sold? It was not coordinated under an umbrella that designated the sales to different branches, but different branches were kind of responsible. Puruka Jamela fengolu wafi, ninsolu karlebe ol wafila, bungolu karlebe ol wafila, fonkolu karlebe. I don't know, I'm confused.
Biring falingo keta 2017. More pisal. More pisal. So
yeah.
2017 more pisal, more jahalta. Everything was helter skelter. Nothing was organized. Nothing was coordinated. I mean, it's like something happened nobody expected was going to happen. And so the coalition literally went into governance with that. The coalition was a stampede. Everything was everywhere. And so Jame's assets were not sold by one institution. The commission was selling. The Ministry of Finance was selling. Civic division sold. A receiver was involved, and so the different institutions sold different things.
And where does that money go?
So the money was being lodged in different accounts. So, for example, after the sale of the livestock, the money was held. So, in fact, the livestock was a scandal because, I mean, you can imagine the livestock only about 725 were eventually sold. 725 sold. So Bal Sajil will be you kill a report all conal but momol kalong. So Bal will data for your momalong. Even they themselves, the reports they filed before the court, they've mentioned Bal and Sajil there, but all momol kalong will disappear. there is no evidence that anybody made any amount of money from those sales. So we've published about the sale of the livestock, and we've also, even after that, we also came to know more facts. There were a lot of people who were involved. Some names come we could not verify, including different people. So I do not want to mention names, but some names came who are connected to different political parties. We were not going to be able to. We were not able to verify because your livestock all wafinyameng imam moto safe. The buyers' names were not recorded, so it's difficult to have an accurate record of what was happening. And a lot of things happen more. I mean, young. I mean, yeah, but that's something we can answer in our subsequent story.
All right, no problem. Thanks for that. Okay. Anti-corruption, you offer Janani access to information.
Yeah.
Alkamun kolea kulle sort of water when it comes to access to information, because Allah doku mamulongo doku sonearang doku mi alonko purkana kamol wanyari wo purka information sort of access to information or what have kolal ne Mustafa fo fal buka kolea
but the thing is that so access to information now we have an access to information commission, but they are struggling. We still have. We have about 9 to 12 requests lying there that so far nothing is done about. We had 2 of our requests that were efficiently addressed, that we had no problem about. 2. We've made 13 to between I think 15 requests. Only 2 was addressed efficiently, and we were happy about it.
Okay, those 2, Mustafa, those 2, alias request send Jamal there. We want to know, after how long, alias send.
No, those requests are to Gambia Public Procurement Authority and Ministry of Trade.
Ministry of Trade, okay.
Yes, those are the only 2 we were happy about. Even the Ministry of Information, the last request we made, we are going to write back to them because they've replied, of course, late and submitted some evidences, but didn't submit some. And they were relying on a clause in the law.
This is office, yeah? This is the office.
And they were, yes, they were relying on a clause in the law, which is ridiculous. I mean, to say that for a contract, when a government signs a contract with a particular business or a particular media organization or a particular institution, the law does not require government to seek consent from that organization before they share that contract. That is not what the position of the law. That contract is public. Yeah? What the law requires you to seek consent about from a third party is proprietary information, information about the business that is vital, the copyright issues and things like that. So, so the only institution we were happy about that.
Okay, so does that mean Ministry of Information, information also all
the institutions we wrote to except 2, GPPA and Ministry of Trade. In fact, even GPPA, interestingly, they called me for a meeting and asked me, why am I requesting for that information? And I told them, I give for courtesy because, sometimes fighting is exhausting. So I don't like to fight. You do something I don't like, but I just play along just to get by. My life is too stressful to be fighting with anybody. So I told them, we are requesting because we wanted to know. So you've given a procurement autonomy to institutions. We want to know what assessment you've done to reach that conclusion. So that's why we made it. But that's for them to even do that is against the law, because the ATI, Access to Information Law, does not require a citizen or a journalist a justification to request for information. They ask because they ask. I don't need to tell you why I'm asking. So we've done that, but they replied, and within time, and they supplied the information. Of course, we needed to ask more now to get a much broader picture. And the second one is Ministry of Trade. When we wrote, They wrote back to say the information we are requesting is private information and that the position of the law is that no, we wrote back to say no, you misunderstood the law. The law is the private information, the third party information you are talking about. It's not when you give public money to businesses. No. If businesses want that to be confidential, they shouldn't come to us for money. You come to me for money.
Okay.
Give you money, and you said my shareholders come and say and ask me who you give money to, and you are telling me, well, that's a third party stuff. I can't tell you that. Who are you? I mean, I'm the shareholder. I'm asking you to give me money. If you give me information about people you give my money to. So that's what happened. So we wrote back to them to clarify the position of the law on that. They botched. They provided the information.
Yeah, I mean, Mustafa,
even before they replied to the parliament about the list of businesses they gave money to Forex to, they give it to us. But because we are not parliament, we go through a different form of processing information, so we couldn't publish it on time. So yeah, but we're still working on some of the information.
Okay, Andy?
The thing you are saying is very important here about the issue of that access to information, and of course how they interpret the laws. I don't know whether it's interpreting the law wrongly or it's just deliberate, because sometimes also I get this feeling that they try to deliberately hide behind this misinterpretation of the law or ignorant of the law. Because just giving an example, recently in Norway, Elon Musk have been a huge discussion here because Tesla, the Norway oil money was invested in Tesla here in Norway. And he called when the crisis started, because knowing Norway is a very activist society, people are reacting to his behaviors and stuff. And knowing that the shares are going down in the Norway stock market, he called the director who is responsible for the oil in Norway here, the chairman. And then he called this guy and started asking him, what is the problem? And I need to be because they were having lots of meetings. He wants to be part of the meeting. This guy said, no, you cannot be part of that meeting. This is our meeting. You cannot be. And that conversation was put on the newspaper. Ellen called back. This director said, but why do you put my conversation with you on telephone on the newspapers? Because I'm reading them all over the place. And then he said, it's public money. There is no secret in public money in Norway. Anything I talk with you is the public money the public needs to know. And that's the so people were asking, is he going to be angry with you? He said, but I don't care. I sit with the public money. This is Norway's oil money. Even if you call me Aaron and say hello, I want to talk to you, that you will see it on the newspaper, because that's public money. I have to be accountable. Just to give you, I mean, this whole thing that they're hiding.
Exactly. And the more transparent, you would see that the more transparent a society is. They talk about all these things. We are building an anti-corruption institution. We are building this. We are building that. You don't need all of that. I mean, all of that is like, I have a friend, Usman, Dr. Gajigo, who used to say that he used to tell me sometimes when we are talking about some things, he used to tell me they are pretending to be doing something. And it sounds more like that. Some of the institutions we create, we pretend to be doing something. Because when you want to fight corruption, the most important thing you do is transparency. Because when people are not stupid, people have sense. When you take government's actions, government's transactions into the public light, then the people have the capacity to scrutinize. And if people who are going to do things wrong or right or whatever, they know that their actions are going to be public. They're not going to do them. They are less likely to do them. So one of the things I had a problem with this GPPC story, because this was a quick investigation, because we have long investigations and quick ones. This was a quick one. So we couldn't wait for the ATI request, but we wrote to the GPPC to say we want a list of all the procurement contracts you have given to Jesakon and OZEC within this period, but they never replied on time. And one of them told me that they said the Ministry of Information told them that that request should have gone through them. and not, I said, then the ministry, whoever you spoke to at the ministry is ignorant of the law. The GPPC it's an independent institution, though it's under the Ministry of Information. It's independent. It's like geology department. It's independent of the Ministry of Petroleum. Under ATI law, you can make a request to the Ministry, to the Geology Department. It has its own management. You know, so, but they put all the lot of roadblocks just to disincentivize activism, investigative journalism, advocacy. You know, so this is just one of the things. But you know, for us, you try to block us. I mean, we tell you, we're very patient people. You know, I mean, we will sit and wait.
I think lide hew mostly moine because during the buga digabi fein more than you def all those blocks. Because Mangdon Satan, Minister of Information, Media, Broadcasting, with Peter Gomez. Mungola simple question. Muneko nyata nidnyo ando na first lady bi. Si recent trip ambi. Kong na hama sen women empowerment hama naka women's day bi. So ag Sidi Njai, luta Sidi Njai boka si entourage bi. Muneko okay, protocol officer bi mune da wara text, so within half an hour I have a program bi je amuda information. So a simple thing lo hamne yo protocol officer bi yo war nga xam, you know, si sa fingertips ñaata nit ñu anda first lady bi, war nga xam ñan ak ñan ñu anda first lady bi. You also mënut account for those. Lolu is gross abdication of duty. In ideal democracies, ñooñu dañ leen war a daxa seen liggéey, because it's like bena they are misinforming the public, ñaar they are not doing their jobs niñ ko war a defee, because your minister, honorable minister, state minister of information, yow war nga am all the necessary information, you know, at hand before nga génn ci public bi. Especially kii mu ngi ko ne waa last week you promised you will come up with this information, and this week bete yaa ngi wax another 15 minutes ba mi affaire yi amuloo ko. So xam nga loolu rek mu ngi laa woon ne how unserious, you know, the borough administration is when it comes to accountability, transparency, and probity. They're not serious at all.
That
Thank you.
So Suleiman di wax nakala important tamit liggéey bi Mustafa di def, because without liggéey Mustafa bi with the Republic, man, I don't see most of these things coming out, because at the end of the day there's a lot of hidden information, in misinterpretation of things, the noba things. Comme Suleiman li nga wax rek bring isil information is simple. Lan nga noba su dee yow yaa ngi si dëgga, lan nga noba nit ñi comme Moustapha tamit bi moo ne nit ñi la employ, lan nga leen noba shareholders lañ, suñu shares yi xamuñ naka la demee, bu gane yoo xam naka la suñu shares yi mel, loo see noba. So these are some of these things. That's why it's very crucial, Moustapha, the work Moustapha bu moo def, liggéey bi moo def pour nit ñi mun a am information bi, because ñoo xam ne nit ñi amut voice. I mean, somebody has to represent them. Fu jaar rek am ko xamne mo leena mëna represent, and that's where this investigative journalism nekk fa, because ñun dañoo wax li government le fen la, man dama ko day gis léegi-léeg suma bindee léegi-léeg nga gis gaay ñëw with their own point, nga ñëwaat sa point ñuy counter waaye the liggéey bu Moustapha di def su yëfi génnee Moustapha dina ñëw ne facts yaa ngi nii, facts yooyu la ñun tam as activists jël use ko to argue suñ point ak suñ case, because these are some of the
and you know also sometimes the way government reacts to lack of information is information overload. So if you said they are not talking to us, they're not giving us an information, they said, okay, let's tell them something. Let's just tell them something that's not relevant. Yeah. So they can give you a lot of information, but a lot of irrelevant information. Government is very good at that. So they give you information overload. And that's why there should be someone in the society who will process that information for the people, and now like you refine oil and now pass it on to the people. And so that's why journalists exist, and that's why we just don't take what politicians say or government officials say or something. We go and look, you say something, we try to find evidences for it. and so we supply this information to the public. But I think as investigative journalism, it's a very critical role in a society, and we should encourage it more and more and more, because it's the only. I was arguing with a colleague one time ago, and I said that if I have my way, independent journalism was going to be funded by through a fund that is government is going to independently create.
Just like we do in Norway here, there is a fund.
Exactly, because and even our civil society, because if you see our independent journalism and our civil society, aside from the kind of model we are trying to explore, are all funded by the West. Can you imagine that? I mean, Western institutions, the USAID, the Freedom House, the NED, all the civil society organizations that are operating in the Gambia, and all the others, they are funded from outside. But then, what is their job? Their whole job is to serve the taxpayers, to be an external infrastructure of checks and balances, external, in the sense that they are not within the government, they are outside of the government, but they also serving the citizens as the citizens' watchdog for what their government does. So it's very important. It's very, very.
Even in Nurad, we have a journalist newspaper, Nurad, that goes check and balances how much money Nurad is taking out of the country for development. They are very critical, and it's funded by the government. Extremely critical. It's very fundamental. So, man, lima fog dal moine Mustafa. This job should be liggéey boo xam ne citizens yi ñun citizens yi ñoo ko war a boot daal, because lii ñun la gën a affect li nga def ñun la gën a affect than the state, because government bi liñ def luñ fa nekk rek mooy noba suul jox ñu misinformation. Yow li nga def pour leeralal ñu ñoom liñ ñoo jox liñ ñoo isil liñ wax ne loolu lañ def suñu xaalis yi ak things yi ñoo dégga, because Gambia tamit rumor dafa dee bari torop, but dama dee wax ne a lot of rumor déggaan ci biiram dañ ko dee jël rek yokk ko exaggerate ko. So yow loolu nga mun a def dem jeexati ko si biir pour génnee ko ñu mun koo understand. So it is very crucial pour nit ñi di mun a look into that as well, ne we can support, not necessarily ne you are your voice nga rek for anything loo xam ne de bon na si government bi rek danga ko génne, but you are there to protect the people, pour nit ñi mun a am protection boobu noonu ne li ñoo suñ xaalis bi liñ ko doyee ñu ngi ko use for the right thing, nekkuñ di ko use like right now. There is no time in the history of Gambia in need of investigative journalism than now, because mandama de wax ne Jammeh did a lot of things and we've learned from that. Right now ñu ngi dégg left, right and center suñ institutions suñ assets suñ things have been sold, nit ñaa ngi jël over, ñu get nobody knows. Dëkk bi dafa mel ni it's so chaotic. So the need is now it's like a life and death. And understand, if you summarize, your role as investigative journalist is like a lifeblood for governance, because mooy tax governance function, because ñun suñ xamut as citizen ñu ñoo mbaamal di ñu dofloo yow soo ñëwee in, that's where ñu mun a understand génne ni. Even Norway here, with all the high level of educated people, how educated Norway is, how in fact information is out, we still have those investigative journalists yi ñëw dem jëli. Ñu ngi am kenn ku ñëwee Gaddafi Sarman dafa door investigation yoo xam ne dafa dem ni Norway di wax ne we are rich, we have money fii kenn sonn fi dafa dugg si biir génnee. And sometimes Norwegians are shocked ne no ñii dëkkuñ Norway, ñi nga wax nii ne they are so poor that they don't have what to eat, or big time liñ doon wax Norway is not a religious society. Mu def fi documentary bu yàggut boobu moom Norway yëpp la shock, where religion, people are using religion, bully people, even killing internally, giving people poison, all kinds of things. Yep, Sibir Norway, and it's in fact at the center of the most area in Norway. That's where this thing was happening. So these are the important things, because like you can find society, but it's not. So
exactly, and that's why, and that's why for me, it's to also recruit as many young people as possible to sort of believe in this job and normalize the inconveniences of it, and to understand the rationale for it and the importance, and sort of be within it. And that, for me, that's my task now, is to sort of have as many people as possible join this job, and sort of cherish the values, because it's very, very important. Um, without it's like investigative journalists are like a bunch of people who hold the mirror through which the society sees itself. And so you need that. I mean, you need to wake up every day and go to the mirror and see yourself. Um, and see if you are a beast, see that beast, stare at the beast in you, right in the face. And so that's very critical, for the democracy to survive. And this is important even for people in government. It's important even for people in NPP. It's important for people in UDP. I mean, you could see nobody has monopoly over corruption in the Gambia. We were talking about sale of Jammeh's assets. These are done by people in the coalition parties. That's literally almost all the existing political parties in the Gambia. So you could see corruption is not a monopoly in the Gambia. A lot of corrupt people, and they spread across parties. And so for us to be able to protect our investment, we have to have critical people who are outside of those government checks, who are going to hold powerful people to account, whether they are business people or government institutions or things like that. I mean, I'm sure, I mean, even ministers of state know how corrupt this society is. I mean, you talk to them behind closed doors, they admit. They tell you, well, we are very corrupt people, and we are morally decadent society. I mean, we use religion a lot, but we're not religious society. I mean, because you see, that's why Suleiman was talking about knowledge. A lot of miseducated people. I think that they are. I think you were talking about educated illiterates, and my understanding is that education is an internalization of learned information. It's an internalization of learned information. So it's not, that is why we don't carry certificates we take from university with us on the street. But when people interact with us, they know this guy is educated. It's educated because he has internalized that learned information. There are a lot of people who have documented a lot of papers. They've done so because they like the title, to go around being called a doctor. But it's not internalized. It has not impact on their intellectual capacity. And intellect is man's reasoning. It's the capacity to think. And so education has come to train man to think. So education is not ready-made. Albert Einstein, when he to create what he has created, he didn't learn that. That is why it becomes knowledge. It becomes new to humanity. Albert Einstein didn't go to college to learn what he has come to discover. No, he went to college to learn how to think. If you see the movie that he has made about, because his dad was an engineer, and so his dad wanted him to be an engineer because it was a fancy thing in those days to be making things. And he told his dad, "No, I'm going to be a professor." And his dad says, "Professor? To do what?" Actually, I said, "To think even for thinking's sake." And this is important, to think even for thinking's sake. Because education is we go to be educated to think. We go to school to learn to think. You don't go to school to learn to get some ready-made knowledge. There is no ready-made knowledge. So I went to a school of mass communication to learn how to think. And so our society, people have gone to school, but there are not many people who have gone to school to learn how to think. Now, when you go to school, you learn how to think, then you come back to your society and look at the society. You look, there are no trees here. We need trees for survival. There are no farms. How do we make farms? So you go to learn to think, and now go to your society. Now you use that thinking, that faculty, to process your environment and now see what is there, what needs to be there, and how it can be there. That is why it's education. So I think it's an internalization of learned information. So a lot of people go and accumulate a lot of papers. They're not educated necessarily. They have a lot of accolades. And if you see the accolades, you will know they're educated. But without the accolades, they're not educated because they're not trained to think. You see what I mean? I mean, about it, Aristotle, things that he has theorized years ago, the world has changed. But how are we able to go and see what Aristotle has theorized in those days and try to make of the politics of our own realities? It's because we have learned to think, and we think independently of whatever Aristotle has taught of in those days, you see. So just to make
all right. In summary,
about Aristotle quickly. Sometimes so live a life is deplorable. They dimbale develop sa bopa muna resist a lot of things. Aristotle so hame Jabaram was the most lousiest woman on earth. That couldn't dahasikirki. Aristotle would spend most of his time outside, and then that's how he started thinking. And later he thanked his wife for being who he was, because without Jabaram he would not have been the person that is celebrated and the person that is thoughtful. So Ramade said you might after 6 years of independence.
I'm not solo. So legi what to be them what to try to saying nyandana ku kumfala. But in summary, Mustafa, even mean for ka wolo mind ku ya fujang in summary wolo hakilo la doku akumata gamben kol na ku kono bakela in education in all sectors. But janim bita before we go and then give you back the microphone for your final thoughts. Janim be wokela. Bella fila be sort of 5 minutes lula to make a case on this, because if doku minna akumata bakele. And then Jang is for your short. Modo comment Kanyako, the Republic is doing a good job. I am encouraging all the viewers to subscribe to their people according to account to donate them with a monthly subscription as little as £5. Moment you see that moment you see that more kema fulatile saying kema sabanyong the more £5 yo ngabro kela kodibaldi, you know. So yeah momo bijam fanam. Niman kodo keno kuba kibaro nyinsia share, pass the message, and then link me fananga kijang a link share the link to donate, because you know mean nothing. I'm offended the mea longo kodi tije ana bije adango doyatala, because nika mol kisi bibi lo kuota ifangolo drong ni narango ngane kisi le Suleiman Jeng Ningombe dan la kodola sole man dal kodo dila na, because momin ke kisi jamanya apruka kodo sorobul akakoleale. So nyula doko koleata bake Mustafa wo fannala lafte in kono dia wo to bake, and then share that information with us and the viewers. Ibajela wo asakeno ning kawo kan manding kakane angale kang saje for the international community as well. Ibajala Woto, you can make a case on that regarding al sulu ka community funding na Karola, Marco Rola Karola, Mustafa.
Oh, so you know, independent journalism is funded only in 2 ways in the Gambia. Before, whether it was at Malagan or now here, we used to we rely on donor funding, and donor funding is largely US-based funding. So most of the independent journalism organizations are funded by USAID funds that are or State Department funds that are given to National NED or Freedom House, or all these organizations, US-based organizations. Now Donald Trump has closed that tap, unfortunately. So there is so much issue around that area. But the reason why I pitched the idea of independent funding, I think that like we have a team of 6 journalists, and the funds that we started the Republic on are actually not given to us. They were my own funds. Yeah, I mean, when there were issues, I don't want to go into my past, but there were issues, so I had to go onto the Republic with the head of investigations who was under me at Malagan at the time, and I started it with Talib, my colleague who came from the Standard, to come and join us. I mean, and we had to start from our own resources, and so one of the reasons why I thought independent journalism could be funded, and probably could be funded by folks in the diaspora, and they knows this because I've had a conversation with her before, and it's working, but it's grossly insufficient. I mean, you have some folks who have donated. Myself, I have seen the guy, my guy who schooled me, who paid my school fees, actually has done it. It's a yearly donor. So it's an American, it's a yearly donor. So there are donors, but it's grossly insufficient. And one of the things that created is because, so when we do stories, sometimes we have to resort to co-publishing with other platforms to generate resources. And so this is also creating a lot of bottlenecks, because you want to focus just strictly on investigative journalism and not be distracted by other things. So you can imagine we published 9 stories, 9 investigations in a period of a year. If all that you have to do is 6 people focusing strictly on investigative journalism in a year, without having to be worried about other expenses to be raised elsewhere, I mean, certainly it would be a lot of work, and this doesn't have to be a lot of money. In fact, we don't encourage people to make large donations, because when people make large donations, that means they have influence over what you do. But when people make small donations, let's say monthly, then that is in large number, that's important. So I mean, we could also otherwise put a paywall on our platform, so that if you are going to read, you pay. But if we do that also, a larger amount of our readership would not be able to pay, because they don't have the resources. I mean, people in the Gambia, So we thought, okay, let's make this, just anybody who wish to do it, you can go to PayPal or Wave and donate to us if you wish to do it. So that's why every story we publish, we put this reminder either at the bottom or at the beginning or at the end, that you can donate to us. Right now we relying completely on independent donations. So you have a lot of folks who have bought this idea before. Of course, I guess I can make some names. I mean, they was involved before at some point. Alaji Sedi Barrow was involved at some point. I mean, I have friends myself who are also involved. I mean, people who do not come with a lot of baggage, There are people who come with a lot of baggage. You don't want them close to this. You know what I mean? Like, there are some who are politicians. There are some who are just business folks. There are some who have other interests. You just don't want them near this. But, I mean, we will be appreciative of people sharing it and encouraging other people to donate to our cause. It's totally transparent, because the Wave account, in fact, the PayPal account it's controlled by a colleague of ours, by a friend of ours in the UK, who transfers it to us, and we put it in the account. So it's not, and the account has double signatory, me and my colleague Talib, who is also my co-editor. But we also are journalists, so we are editors and at the same time reporters, because we can't afford to have large number of people. We don't have that kind of resources. Yeah, so we're encouraging people out there to support the cause and be part of it. Because, I mean, the thing is, like I said, democracy is participatory. You are not going to appoint a shopkeeper to watch over your shop and go home and sleep. No, you come back to hold him to account as to whether he's doing the job well, whether he's spending the money well, whether, and one of the ways to do that is investigative journalism. And one of the most important things, significance to independent funding, when it's not coming from donor organizations, is that, here's the thing, donor organizations, you have to write project proposals, you have to do a lot of report writing. It takes you away from independent journalism. I've done this before. I've been there. I mean, I've done it for 4 years. We're relying on donor funding, but it takes you from independent journalism, because you have a lot of workshops here and there, a lot of report writing, a lot of proposal writing, and you publish 3 stories a year. This is not the goal. I mean, why am I going to do that? I mean, then I should quit journalism and go and do something else. Because the whole point of being a journalist is to publish stories and hold people to account. But in the end, if you're going to be stuck with project writing and project work instead of journalism, then there is no point. But when it is, I mean, think about it. If you are a person maybe in the diaspora and £1 a month, or £2 a month, or £3 a month, or £4 or £5 a month may not mean much to you. But I mean, if you are writing that as a proposal to a donor agency, they will require you go and do workshops. And so it's a lot of waste of time that in the end does not have much impact. So we'll appreciate it if anybody out there finds it worthy cause, and
Thank you. Any pledges? Leave it on the comment box. We'll follow it. We change it up with your final thoughts. But momo yakuma kango nyimoi. Ya jago elafta ke support ke ma ko link nyinke jane. I'll ping it on the here comment box, and then you can any pledges. You can say yes on here. I'll pledge, and then we'll pick it up from there. So Mustafa saying what bandal fedem frengalu say inya start dal kamese afang dabo kundang ko start the game ngalu no kongo dunde la, but saying in summary your final thoughts ila konoto dia and then ngaku kumfa.
Yeah, so now the thing is that I think that I put this in the Republic. My colleague and my colleague thought it's a good idea to put what if one former American president says, it's a republic if you can keep it, right? It's a republic if you can keep it. Now, you may think about this for a minute. It's a republic if you can keep it, yes. It's a democracy if you can keep it, right? Now, what does if you can keep it means? It means that you have to be actively watching over the actions of the people you appoint to watch over your affairs. So if you appoint a president who is a CEO, you have to, he's going to be efficient. If you can ensure that he's efficient, right? You have to have a functioning parliament. You have to have a functioning audit department. You have to have a functioning investigative journalism organization. You have to have functioning activists, functioning advocates and NGOs. So it's a democracy if we can keep it. And if somebody says, if you are that and somebody says you are being an opposition, thank you. Thank them for saying it, because that's what it is. I mean, you have to be involved in this job, and it's a democracy if we can keep it. So let's keep it.
Thank you. Kadim, your final thoughts.
Mustafa foka Mustafa Dabo ka tentu bake ka jai. Mustafa nyol sifalo is a rare gem pour banko dingol bele nyante bulo kafula nyoma to empower him, because Mustafa belorin tunkumo menkang momo mu misilime dingo te Gambia yalong Mustafa watu ngapla fula Gambia misilimo le siak bar momo mu misilimoti. In fact misilime dingo be hani menu manke misilimoti bele nyante bulo duna Mustafa la initiative kotoka sembentuya is agency corruption of fano, because niaje molbebe silala Mustafa da investigative journal molbebe silala momo kuriya data hanyala Mustafa la kisikisiro kang, because ngajela Mustafa la kisikisiro menu sabu ay mansakunda bulo toromonda de puri act, and they act on so many issues. So ninga Mustafa sembentuya, that means me bankole sembentuya kang bibi mojamaka diamu atodong Burkina Faso military leadership lebije. But ibe do komen ke kaniaje bankodi ulbe la frila. Ibe do komen ke ka yemendu bondi wolma do kusivake. So na banko mbele nyanda Gambia do ya batale. Ntul bele nyanda mbulo kafula nyoma kamol sembentu ya meni yalonko. Wolebe mako e kampurka balu. Because ninti nyaro kita Gambia bele be sofa biya bete momento banko bele ba feel kam fengol dabe kolere nyameng domoro be kolere balu fon be kolere nyameng. Gambia generally everything is tough. Can you imagine Niko Emira Mustafa? Niko Emira Nuko. Gambia Central Bank ye kolo sikale banko dingo la kolo kadi business mano la puru koleabe kerim puru kwol si sonea. Sila muna na kwol man sonea. Oto wol nyantan to law kolo murundi lale. with interest. Because ye bankola kolole bi yasika ya dito la pour iman saran na fang. Iman sara banko dole kolo bondi from the state fund kasika kadi businessman or selected businessman for that matter. Ya dila dali jumala kamala malong. Mundalila atina in fact ye tombo nya because businessman o siata Gambia kono. Munantin na ye danta tombo ye tombo on what grounds? Ye tombo nyadile what criteria did they use? Pour kafuta to that level. Ye okeno nyadile. So adu nyunu be mbalo no la nyadile through the efforts and hard work of the likes of Mustafa Dab. So oto banko di wol bele nyante bulo kafla nyuma ke bulo du Mustafa la little fonko kono. Pra ke very big mighty gigantic enterprise te dame alon ko Gambia di wol jamal be do ko kalaje. Ndeka yunsi mem follow do wala mo katen to kaje ya be do ko menka. I always appreciate him, to be honest. And numbela fela la Gambia di wol base men no do let's try nga ma ko pour nga sembentu ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
jërëjëf Moustapha Dabo comme dégëral li Bamba wax rek képp koo xam ne bugga nga Gambia bugga nga mu dem kanam soo gisee doom bu baax doomi réew bu baax comme Moustapha Dabo jóg danga ko war a dimbale ci loo mun dimbale dimbale bi nekkul rek jos si joxe xaalis mun nga koo dimbale ci share messages yi moo def mun nga koo dimbale soo amee information nga jox ko because soxla na nit ñoo xam ne dinañ ko jox information yoo xam ne dina leen gestu so yooyu yëpp dafa am solo ñu bàyyi ci xel bu baax xaalis bi Bamba doon wax in fact ministre bi demoon na si parliament bi dafa ne gars yi joxe nañ xaalis bi waaye he did not make it very clear ndax xaalis boobu dañ leen ko jox on a loan o dañ leen ko may so loolu tamit minister of information was unable to clarify loolu so Gambian di nit nañ xam loolu tamit ndax dañ leen may xaalis bi ndax dañ leen ko lebal because minister of information mu ngi wax ne duñ leen may xaalis bi just like that but he was not able to also confirm that the money was given on loan or not so which is kind of disheartening as well so suma final thought mooy ne rek Gambian yi nañ jéema góorgóorlu ñu lifin nanguwaat suñu xel li lifin récupérer suñ xalaat ak suñ xel yi ñu bañ politicien yi di ñu use di ñu mbaamal ñu leen a barkeloo ñun ñuy gën a des ci gannaaw so everybody should be frustrated Gambian not because yaa ngi frustrated yaa ngi soxla xaalis waaye you should be frustrated su fekkee ne nguur gi nekkul di dox tànk yi mu war a dox loolu war nga cee mer war na laa naxari jërë ngeen jëf ba beneen samedi incha allah rabbi
jërëjëf Sol Ndeye your thoughts.
Yeah, defana mbafala Mustafa abarka bake Mustafa and ikadoko menke is really crucial. Is important abake na bankoto and it's going to stay here for years. Sako situation obe nyame bankoto signing gina need fang than before because kujamale beke kang na banko bebe wafikang na banko bebe jakasiring kodo bebe disappearing molma no sign nyo fufuolem sign ikafole ko could take you would see nguri barobido take it so these are the things why it's very important so do ya safe jam fanka foko subscription or natara momo ganimang full donation keno subscription fana bijele every month ninko ntebe diaspora le appeal kan mbe diaspora bele appeal ko hanabeka £5 a month ni momo mbeko £5 a month na dundi nga subscribe every month ala PayPal to ka subscribe yesaje ko every month momo £5 dundi oba makoila bake isaje ko asi call somebody and just taking this into English for those who cannot just appealing to the Gambian diaspora. I am a diasporian. I also live in Norway and I'm just appealing to my fellow diasporians that every diasporian, if they can subscribe, like this guy Abdullah Jabang is saying, £5 a month. Those of you who live in Norway, 100 krona a month, or even 200 krona a month, to just make sure that every month we are giving Mustafa, the Republican, £5, 200 or 100 krona a month to keep this going because we need it. This is and our life.
Abla is a very regular. Abla is a very regular person in supporting our work.
That's nice.
I mean, we're thankful for it. Yes.
That's really.
I don't know him though. I mean, I don't know who Abla is, but
Yes, he's been writing here actually. But thank you so much, Ablai. This is what Good Citizen is about. This is about fighting for our own thing, because it's like, if you cannot put your mind there, put your money there. But if in fact the better is put both there as well. So I would just plea on all the people in the diaspora to help donate or subscribe every month £5 to the Republican, to help Mustafa and the Republican carry the work that we cannot do, the things that we cannot see, the things that we don't know about, to be able to have those information in our hand. Because we are at a stage whereby we are fighting for the soul of the Gambia, and we cannot fight for the soul of the Gambia without people like Mustafa. So I'm just appealing, and we are in Ramadan as well. There's a lot of zakat going out. Zakat is not just giving to somebody who cannot eat. Zakat can be also giving to the Republican, at least for them to help us understand, bring the truth. Ramadan is the month of justice, peace, of course, but justice, the truth, and transparency as well. So this is also another way to do it. Thank you so much, Mustafa. You really doing a great job, and you're somebody really I have so much respect for, somebody who really I admire for the work you do and the risk you take as well, because the work you do also, of course, come with the risk. It can be a very dangerous territory to be, and all those things are there, but still you just continue to do it. Thank you so much, and we will continue to look out and continue to give our support. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you very much, Ndai. Like someone was requesting, Bakariba, I thank you. Are you going to pledge, Mr. Bakari? Can you please share his PayPal? Okay, I've shared the PayPal and then share the Republic.
Can you also share the wave, because he's asking for the wave? I think there's a wave number.
It's on the donate page on the website.
Okay.
Okay, I've done that. So that's the link to the Republic to donate. I've said on Facebook.
If you go to the website, it's on the. If you go to the website, you will find the donate page on the right top corner of the website. It's a blue button, donate.
Yes,
but also, if you read any of our stories, inside the story or somewhere, whether it's the IOM story or any of the investigations, you will see donate there, donate button there. If you click it, it will take you to there, and through the link, you can now click the word PayPal or wave number is there, and you can click PayPal. It's pretty easy if you're on the website.
Thank you. Well noted, and then thanks. Butung, fila ñoo tagata yeen di leen gërëm di leen sant képp ko xam ne yaa ngi déglu si jamono ji. Butung lamar lan lañ jibe laal waato en suñu ne lan na lokung civic education programming ka soto ka wanan Skype wa radio and TV services. Be panelist will pay tentulam be jey la min yalon ko yamu janne de minima make no min kena Aziz Bojandi Aziz solba to nyen ko bering yenna ko samba state house ko yen samba katang kisi le because of na program on kamin ni fojang police will benna ko kaja ko Aziz Bordale soli wala fo yalla sol mo police ko dol di dol police will damale ñol na min ke keje be Aziz fanan kondon na bramam bori ngalom bulu do la kera wala sunkaro yal ni oba keren kul kamanel alaji
Aziz munna boss de anu ibena fala ñoo kay yalong imam karafilo fele imam be foyi
alaji baro fanan baten dula fanfanke mbajeyla alaji sedi baro ngamira de fanan sunkaro le kanu de do be
no alaji o mangañi fakuru le silandi, so I think fakuru ani nyamandia.
No, alaji fanam buka sila de alaji lazilo afan lazilo.
He was crying all over Facebook. I said, he was crying all over Facebook. Guy, they came about why are you here crying? I mean, go and deal with Fakuru. I mean, go to France.
Alaji bujadol da buka sila.
Aya respondere.
Ukilin nak me ofala pour silandiro woman tul sambano dula no be ya understand wo nyama. We're here to stay, and then we will continue to educate and empower our people. Me sembentu yala ke family ke kalamdini. Momo ya wuli pour silandiro kama. Amre ke fane batani eta o kodo silandir kodo ninkul eta o use kudo kuntu maybe ase na fano rather than afoko iba wulinde la wala kama. So pour ka mol be faham de ke kalamdandi wala control, inshallah we are here to stay to continue educating people ko anyanta kala nyameng coming banku sambo be nyameng republic ba kanjana ye fanna min no yake. So ano Republic fanang yele mol ministry fe ka keno volunteers minika kuke abakela wala nyama pronse banko keno nyaming. So wato en sunyin lambe danna janna for sibit nala on behalf of all the team here. Mafalal thank you for being here. Thanks for your time, energy, effort, and comments. Until we come your way, same place, same time, Sky Power Radio and TV services. Mustafa Jame at the seat here saying, good, have a lovely weekend.
Tunya, inina tai boso wala